There are a lot of good men that are being sucked into these, secret esoteric societies.
Then the water slowly turned up.
Yeah, you do. You get slowly indoctrinated into the bath, and before you know it, you're like, Satan is good, Lucifer is good, and God is bad.
Yeah.
The light that you're so seeking desperately is not the light of God, and it's not the light of Christ. It's the light of Luciferianism.
Yeah.
And the light of Satan.
So
he's the great counterfeit, right? I even wrote that down this week. Here, 2 Corinthians 11:14. The adversary masquerades as an angel of light.
Yeah, he always does.
2 Corinthians 11:14. Lucifer, and like your King James, Lucifer, son of the morning star. Welcome to the Tinfoil Hat Club. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Ben.
And thank you for joining us yet again. Sorry for the slight delay there. Some technical difficulties. Like I said, this is a new venture for us. If you guys are not experiencing us, these live streams, these are awful fun. If you are experiencing this and you're joining us on the live stream, we'll kind of mention this maybe as we go throughout the show, but we can see all of the live chats that come in from our website and then also Rumble and YouTube as well. Thank you. I'm typing as we're talking here, so that's why I'm kind of delayed. But yeah, I'm just making sure we're up and going. So yeah, this is a fun format. We get to be a little bit more interactive with everybody and kind of have a good time from that perspective. So if you want to mention something, you can, and you can actually join us on the show. So you can go to thetfhc.com and then click on the live stream button. And you can also go to YouTube /@thetfhc or on Rumble. So rumble.com. So we are actually using Rumble Studio to do all this, and it's got some kinks still. It's awful. It's a pretty awesome program, but it does have a few little bugs here and there that we're still trying to work through. So, all right. So our show today, we are going to be talking about Satan, the adversary.
Well, that's special.
Who is he? What is he? Because I think we spend a lot of time talking about kind of the good side of the spiritual realm, and we focus a little bit on the bad side, mainly demons, but we don't get into some of the other things like, Satan. Exactly who is he? What is he? Where does he come from? What does the term adversary mean? Why is that used more in the Old Testament versus actual Satan, depending on your translation? So we're going to get into a lot of that today. Now, before we do that, I do have a few things I want to kind of share with you guys. Some fun things that we actually do have going on right now. So if you guys tune in tomorrow is actually going to start our cheap trick or treat sale. I should have put this on the top left here. Let's go ahead and we'll change that so it's on the other side. There. Now it's not covering our title. So our cheap trick or treat sale right up here is actually going to be starting tomorrow. So you're going to get your hands on one of our sweet cheap trick or treat hoodies that actually have this little figure on it. It's Bigfoot. He's wearing one of our t-shirts and it says, "I want you to want me." This is actually from one of Ben's experiences in episode 56. So if you want to go listen to the backstory there, you can go listen to episode 56. Those hoodies are normally, $45. I think they're going to be on sale for $39.99. And then if you sign up to become a member of the show, you're going to get an extra $5 off. And it's $5 a month on the low end to become a member of the show. So you're literally going to get your money back right away. And you can even cancel right after. So,
or if they want, they could just send $20 and I would tell the story.
Oh, there you go. Send it to us, care of the TFHC. There's places on there you can donate.
Yeah.
And Ben will.
I will call you and tell you the story personally.
Yeah, so you can email us, the dudes at the TFHC.com.
Yeah.
What's it like? Was that cameos?
Yeah.
Is that the you get Gary Busey to sing "Happy Birthday" to you for $50 or whatever? Oh my! Buttered sausage. Oh my goodness! Oh, so anyway, yeah, we have that. So check out our website, thetfhc.com. I think I've got it here. Yep, there we go. The tfhc.com /merch, and you can actually get your hands on one of them sweet cheap trick or treat hoodies.
Yeah.
That's going to be up on sale tomorrow through November 1st. So you only got about 2 weeks to take advantage of this. So you better get on it.
I love that. I love that.
This coming Wednesday, we had to delay this from this last week, but this coming Wednesday, and I'm going to cover Ben up again. Let me switch that really quick over to the other side. Thank you, Vanna. I'm going to move it away from you, though. You're like a cat with a laser pointer. We both are because it's all backwards stuff.
I know.
But so up here, there you go. We're going to be talking to our friend Paul Hanson this Wednesday. We had to move it. He wasn't feeling well, and I had some things going on myself. So, yeah, we've moved it to this Wednesday. Let's see, at 6 p.m. So we're going to actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't update the graphic on that.
I thought it was 5.
That's not correct. It's this Wednesday, and it is 5 p.m. It is this Wednesday, and it's 5 p.m. So let me, I'll fix it later. I apologize. But yeah, we're going to be talking to Paul and having a good time with him. We always enjoy talking to Paul, but we're going to talk about the 1,000-year reign. So it's this coming Wednesday, which is, let's see, tomorrow's the 14th, 15th, the 16th at 5 p.m. So we bumped it back a little bit of time because Paul is over in the UK and they're 5 hours ahead of us. So that's still a very late start time for him. So this coming Wednesday at 5 p.m. Whoa, man. I get an F. I'm all disheveled today and unprepared, I guess. So at least for so far, we're batting 1,000, but that's okay. And then I guess that's pretty much it. So if you guys want to head over to the tfhc.com, you can actually sign up for our newsletter as well. We're going to keep you updated on everything foil. So you'll just see a green pop-up box that's going to come along, and you can enter your information in there, and we'll get you into the Facebook fans page. And also, you're going to get a nice 20% off merch coupon that's going to come in the mail, in your email, and you're going to get all that. So the other thing, too, is if you want to mark your calendars for the live stream, we're going to be loading in some more live stream dates because we do have some conversations that are going to be coming up that you guys can be a part of. So if you want to head over to thetfhc.com, which I know that right now is actually up and running, so you can watch this. What we're doing right now is our talk is live on our website. But if you go to thetfhc.com/live stream, you can actually mark your calendars for upcoming live stream events.
Yeah.
So kind of fun. Okay. So with that, that is pretty much all we have. Now, we promised someone that we would carve out a little bit of time here in the beginning, and we would make sure to shout out. Hi, Angie. We love you. Thank you for being such an amazing fan of the show.
Yeah.
We know that last week might have been a challenge for some folks with some of Doug's message on the angel of the Lord. So, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Now, I did also want to tie into that and also preface this week with our conversation that we're going to have this week and conversations that we have on the show and going forward. I want everyone to understand when we actually have these conversations on the show, it may shock you to find out that I don't think we've had a single guest on yet that I agreed with everything they said. Not one.
Yeah.
And yet we've had several of them back, and we will continue to have them back. And that's okay, because this show is not for everybody to get together and sing Kumbaya around a fire, and we all agree, we all high five, because that is not how we make each other stronger. Iron sharpens iron. If someone says something on this show that you're like, no, dude, you're out of your tree. The whole purpose of this show is designed to draw you closer to the Lord, to have you not trust anything anybody on this show says. Don't take Ben's word for it. Don't take my word for it. Don't take the guest's word for it. Listen to what everybody has to say and then dive into your Bibles and find out for yourself. I've spent a lot of time this week after Doug's show last week, and I've actually been diving back into my Bible to go look and see what the angel of the Lord, how the angel of the Lord shows up all through the Old Testament. And, is it Christ? I absolutely believe it's Christ after doing some more research. And is Michael, the archangel, is he the same entity as Christ? I don't personally believe so. So that's probably an area where Doug and I disagree, but in doing my own research. But here's the thing. I have done my own research. I've gotten into my Bible. I've prayed about it. I've prayed for discernment. I've prayed for God to be able to give me wisdom and to figure out what his truth actually is. I don't care what Kyle's belief system is. I care what the word of God has to say.
But you know what? Doing that, now you can have that conversation with Doug.
I can.
And you can,
it won't be confrontational either.
No.
It'll just be like, hey, what about this? I think I actually sent Doug a text message at one point this week, just kind of, I think it was what I put up on Facebook. It was, about the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego being
Yeah.
thrown in the fire, and the
Yeah.
angel of the Lord comes to save them, basically.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that was Jesus that showed up in that fire.
Yeah.
So
No. Yeah.
yeah, so all these conversations are designed to push you outside of your comfort zone. I mean, not necessarily, that's not our goal, I guess, but a lot of times the conversations are probably going to push you outside of your comfort zone. And that is okay. Outside of our comfort zone is an okay place to be because it allows us to grow in our faith and allows us to break free of a lot of the bad teaching. And there's a lot of bad teaching that exists in the church.
No.
Oh, what? So we're going to get into some of that maybe today. Maybe some of the things we're going to talk about today when we talk about Satan and we talk about the adversary, what all that means, where all we show up in the Bible, the entities that could be referred to. Some of that may make some folks uncomfortable, and that's okay. Yeah. And if you are joining us and you want to write us something in the chat, because this is live, you are watching it right now. It is 4:18 Eastern Time, October 13th. So if you need proof that this is live, this is live. We don't like restream our shows. So when you see it live, I mean, obviously after now, if it's still playing live, then
it'll be what it is. Put back in the rotation.
It'll get put in the rotation for a regular edit, and it might be a few weeks. Ben and I's episodes typically come up a little quicker than the guests do. But if you want to watch a guest, then you better get on the live stream while they're there because you're probably going to be waiting about 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Okay. Now on the topic of Satan and the adversary. There's really not a ton that you get in the Bible about origin story.
No.
You get some in Ezekiel and you get some in Isaiah, I do believe.
So are you saying the Bible needs a prequel?
Yeah. Or it's almost as if that things are missing.
Yeah.
That maybe should have been there and they're no longer there.
Kind of like Lilith.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ben. Explain Lilith to everybody.
I would just throw that. I was just being funny.
You're talking about the Holy Spirit.
No.
Who's Lilith?
Lilith?
Yeah.
She was actually before Eve.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Oh, you definitely want to rock the tree early and hard today.
Yeah. It's actually like a Jewish legend. She's the one that would take infants and she would kill them.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to be before the fall?
This was like, well, she was bad. So
yeah, I'd say that qualifies.
She went away. Then God created Eve.
Oh, wow.
And then she's the one that's.
So
I'm just throwing like
what Adam got for the rib was originally Lilith and not Eve.
Well, no, Eve was Lilith was made from the dust like Adam.
Oh, okay.
And Eve was made from his rib.
Interesting. Yeah. And this is Jewish traditions.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
interesting.
Like with every tradition, there is a bit of truth.
Well, I know the Holy Spirit is referred to by Solomon
as
female. I want to say that was what the
Sophia.
Sophia. Okay. Yeah. Vastly different.
Sophia means wisdom,
which makes sense.
Greek? I don't know. It's all Greek like to me.
Haha. There you go. So yeah, if we see the accounts in Ezekiel and Isaiah, you get a little bit of the backstory. Not necessarily going to get into so much of those. I mean, we can if you got the verses off the top of your head.
No,
me neither. But let's see.
We're prepared.
Yeah, it's just we're not batting 1,000 a day, but that's okay. But yeah, I've got some other ones that I really wanted to kind of focus on more, and I'll work on pulling those up while we're talking here. So we're not dragging time out, but. The use of the term, and we use the CJB too, so this might be vastly different in your Bibles. So I just will share with you that not all translation is created equal. And if you have a King James, I'm sorry, your translation is really not good at all.
Oh, come on.
It's not good. Will it get you to salvation? Yes, it will. Will it get you there in a busted up car that's not barely going to get you? Yeah, it probably will. And all my friends that are KJV fans are like, there he goes again. So I ran into it earlier this week. So okay, we're going to kind of take a little bit of a side tangent here because it matters in the discussion of translation, because translation is going to factor into this heavily today.
Gabe on to talk about translation.
There you go. Gabe's the one that's been the study. We should have him on. That'd be good. Gabe is Ben's oldest. He's done a lot of study in translations and stuff. That'd be a good discussion. But here's one. Here's a teaching that has pervaded the church that is based on the King James translation. And it is the incident that occurs in Genesis where Ham sees his father naked. Because in the King James, it actually says he uncovered or discovered his father's nakedness. It's the same exact language that is used in Deuteronomy, maybe, where we're starting to break down like what the laws are. And the laws don't sleep with your mother because you'd be uncovering your father's nakedness. And so they said, oh my gosh, there was ancestral things that happened in the tent. No, there wasn't. That's a bunch of hooey.
I don't know.
You don't think so? What are you thinking maybe?
I'm thinking something happened.
I don't think so.
That's see, and
I
right
made
here,
sure.
and right here, and right here, we can just, and it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. I don't think so. It just doesn't make any sense to me. When I study, it does make sense to me. The other thing too is like when you get into the other translations of things, and I looked at it this week because I wanted to make sure before I answered a person on YouTube, that I had my ducks in a row and I had my facts straight, and I put my name to it because I try to not put my name to things that's for him and I. I don't want to speak for him.
And I usually keep my mouth shut on those things.
You do.
And I'll call you and I say, I tell you what I think, and you're like, you better not say that.
Operation Bullet Shield. That's
Kyle.
I'm the Bullet Shield.
Yes, because I'm the one that's a little harsh sometimes.
No, but well, people are sensitive. But no, they would have instantly, in my opinion, they would have instantly killed him. They would have killed him. They would have killed him. And I know that I think you and I talked before, and you think maybe Cain was a product of that. Canaan was a product of that. I don't think that to be. I don't believe that to be the case. The other thing too is a lot of the language. When you get into the other translations, the language is very clear that it was just naked. There wasn't anything else that happened.
Yeah.
Because the other thing too is like when Noah wakes up, it says he knew what his son had done to him. Now there's typically two lines that you go down. The one line is he slept with his mother, thus created Canaan. Canaan was a product of incest. That's the one thinking.
See, well, I think Canaan was already born.
Okay.
And he was like, oh no, he has some giant features.
Oh, that's why he curses him.
And then he says, I want a normal son. I know my mom can give me a normal son.
Interesting.
Goes that route.
Oh, because of the wife.
Yes.
Yeah, this goes back to the flood. Okay, how do we wind up with Nephilim after the flood? And a lot of people think that it's actually Ham's wife was the carrier of the DNA.
See, do I believe it? I don't know, but I can say these things, because it's, you look at something and you can talk about this, and it's like, it's fine to talk about.
Yeah. It seems like to me, everything that we've read and everything that we've studied, and definitely everything that I've kind of looked into and reading and talking to a lot of people and reading a lot of texts, it seems like less and less likely for me that the Nephilim appear after the flood because of something that was on the ark. The other thing too that I kind of struggle with, because I used to think that was my original thing too. The thing where I got off of that and I don't believe so is because it just seems like, why would God do that? Why would God go through the effort of wiping everything clean and making sure that everything on that boat was a pure DNA, right? All the animals were no hybrids. I mean, that's repeated over like it's kind, like it's kind, like it's kind. Clearly, there's a lot of language that's used too that maybe Noah was brought on because he was pure in his DNA. Why we would go through all that to only turn around and have an oopsie happen with one of the wives just seems like, God doesn't have oversight.
Sorry, but that's funny. Well, you never know.
Oh, really?
You never know. Because think about it. God kind of leaves things up to chance sometimes too.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I would have a problem in this particular instance because of the nature of it, because we're deliberately starting over with the intent of not having this happen again. I think it seems much more plausible and much more likely that there was a second incursion that occurred. Some of the text in Genesis 6 kind of reads that way anyway, but I also think that something happened with Nimrod and Cainum, who we've talked about on the show before. You won't find in Genesis, but you won't find in Chronicles either, but you'll find in Luke's account of Christ's genealogy. I think something happened in there, and I think it was more of a ritualistic type of thing that occurred. But either way, which does bring up an interesting thing, because in order to get into some of the, And again, I think we started off and we talked about how we focus on some of the good guys in the spiritual side. We don't always focus on all the players that are on the bad side of the team and the spiritual side. And that's kind of really what we're going to get into today. And it's like we really starts to open your eyes a lot, obviously, when you get into the extra biblical texts, because then you start to see much more clearly some of these entities and how they operate. But you also get names and titles, which makes it really interesting.
Yeah. But what were you going to say about Noah's son and flood?
Well, no, I think you talking about seeing his father naked?
Yeah.
I think in that particular instance, I think he was just being I think he was a tool. I think Ham was not a good dude.
I don't know.
And because you get, when you look at the lineage, you wind up with, that's how you get Nimrod. Nimrod is his grandkid, because you have Ham, Cush, and then Nimrod.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things out there that you can read about. Cush wasn't a good dude. Ham doesn't seem to be a good dude. They were all drunk because, and again, you won't get this in the Bible, but you'll get it in the extra biblical text. They were drunk because Noah had planted a vineyard. I think it says that, but it doesn't say why. It was a covenant that he had made with God because of all of the drinking of blood and the death and the murder and everything that they had just wiped away with the flood. And this was a covenant by God to celebrate ordination to celebrate this covenant every year with God. And this was the first year the grapes had gotten to Funville. And they were all drunk. And I think Ham was just, first of all, Noah wasn't exactly the smartest either. I mean, he went in his tent and he exposed himself. And so, you see some stupid that goes on there, but it was worse because Ham walked in and then saw him. And then I think he went outside and I think he made fun of his dad. He was kind of being irreverent to him, and then that's why the brothers go in backwards and cover their dad, which also doesn't really make sense for the incestual part, right? Like, why would you? Your first reaction is to go
to him. So that's the thing. What he had done to him. So what did he do?
Well, I think
is it more than just saying? I'm not saying any kind of incestual, but it wasn't like. Did he like?
I don't think so. And here's why. We got to talking about this at one of the Friday groups that I was at a while back, and one of the things that instantly was like, you ever get a download kind of instantly from God of like, here it is. Here's one of the clearest instant downloads I ever got. It took go back to the garden. What is the first thing that they noticed after they'd eaten from the tree?
Yeah,
that they were naked, right? Yeah. And they were ashamed because they went and they got fig leaves and they covered themselves. There is an extreme amount of shame associated with that, with seeing someone naked. We don't have that nowadays. That we have a polluted and disgusting Western lens that we view everything from in the 21st century now, because we view nudity as just part of culture almost. It's sick. However, there is still a fair amount of shame that's associated with that, right? I mean, even today, like, you should really only be seeing your wife naked, right? So, like we shouldn't be showering together as men and women and all that. We shouldn't be doing that. That's a product of how far we've fallen, in my opinion. And there's kind of more proof of this in the Bible as well, which is an interesting anecdotal story of Moses. God is instructing Moses, and he tells him when he goes up onto the altar not to take steps because people are going to be able to see up his garments and see his privates.
Yeah. Well, and
so, because that's shameful, right?
Well, they were fishing naked.
Who?
The disciples.
When
they said it's the Lord, and they said Peter had to put clothes on to go to the Lord.
Oh, I'll have to go back and read that.
Yeah.
Was he naked, or was he just like maybe like
they fished naked?
What?
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and read that one.
Because Gabe and I have discussed that.
Really?
Yeah.
You and me going naked fishing in the dark. That's interesting. I'll just go back and read.
Said he had to put clothes on to swim to the shore.
All right, we got to find this. Do you remember where it is?
It'd probably be John. It said because he had to gird himself.
Does that necessarily mean clothing though?
That would be John.
No, you find it, but that's okay. So anyway, there's just a lot of things in that exchange where I don't think anything ancestral happened. I do want to say thanks, James. James Shrimp Fajitas has left us a chat, Different theories on Lilith. Some say Adam's first wife. Some say Lilith and Lucifer trans version. Interesting. I got in trouble all the time when I was in school because I refused to use the school showers. Well, there you go, James. He's refusing to do what the world wants him to do because it's not in line. Nakedness is not a good thing. But while you're looking that up, one of the instances we get into is there's a lot of use of the term prince, and not in like the artist formerly known as, but lots of the term prince and lots of the term in the CJB, not necessarily of Satan, but the adversary. Lots of use of the term the adversary, which is kind of interesting, I think. Do you find it in John?
7. Then the disciples whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It's the Lord." As soon as Simon heard this, "It is the Lord," he wrapped his outer garment around him, for he had taken it off, and jumped into the water.
His outer garment.
Well, they didn't. Some say that they were naked. This I'm reading NIV.
John what?
John 21:7.
John 21:7.
Because Gabe and I've discussed this because it was tradition for them to fish naked.
The Talmud Yeshua loved said to Peter, "It's the Lord." On hearing this, it was the Lord. Simon Peter threw on his coat because he was stripped for work and plunged into the lake. I don't think they were naked. I think they were just probably down to some other lesser clothing.
Fine, you can like
why do I feel like on the back nine of that was a true you have the right to be wrong.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Gabe and we've discussed it before, and I can't remember which one he has, but they said they were. It might have been the Septuagint.
Oh, interesting. No, it wouldn't be Septuagint. Well, New Testament and the Septuagint
It would have been Greek. So,
I don't know. I'd have to go read it. I have a copy.
Whatever. No, I mean like whatever, whatever translation it was.
Yeah. So when you as far as Satan, do you find that there are things that are missing as far as the backstory? Does it feel incomplete to you in the Bible?
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like,
and James from Fajitas, we see you as well. Many of the princes in the Bible refer to fallen angels. However, it also refers to a lot of angelic beings
as the prince of what?
Prince, yeah. Like it seems to be prince as a title.
I think
both good and bad.
I think that there was probably something put in. There's probably a book, not a book of Satan, but like some sort of backstory. But I think the powers that be took it out because why else would you want to get rid of? I mean, you would want to get rid of your enemies.
Like knowledge of your enemy.
Yeah. History of. But if we don't know our enemy, how can we fight them?
You know, it's so funny. Literally after church today, I walked up to your dad and we were talking about, he's like, "So what's the show on today?" And I said, "Well, oddly enough, we had to plan that for weeks in advance, but it's Satan." And he goes, "Well, yeah." And he was talking about going to speak at a Bible college somewhere one time. And the head of the Bible college, your dad was going to talk about Satan. And the head of the Bible college went up to him and basically said, "Nope, you need to change what you're going to talk about. We don't talk about Satan here. We don't give him a platform."
It's not.
It's like I said the same exact thing that you just said. I'm like, how can you go to war if you're not even equipped with the knowledge of your enemy?
Yeah.
And we have this ridiculous, that kind of stuff is ridiculous to me because I'm like, that person needs to be fired immediately.
Yeah. I mean,
he's the head of a Bible college.
We discussed this last week. You and I did, and I discussed it with my family. The church has taken spirituality out of the church.
They've sterilized it.
Yeah. Because if there's nothing spiritual about it, then it's just okay. It's like a dead version of itself.
How can you fight a war if you're not trained?
Yeah.
Like if we just decided, oh, well, welcome to the military. You don't need to go through any kind of training at all. Here's your gun. Here's your uniform, and off you go.
Don't they?
How's that supposed to work?
Don't they give you what is it called? Nomenclatures? Like actual, like just a silhouette of your enemy's tanks and helicopters, so you can identify.
To play it out on a battlefield.
Like, so if you see one in the air.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, well, that's a whatever.
Shoot it.
Yeah, that's a whatever. Yeah. If you don't know your enemy, how can you fight him?
You can't. Not effectively.
Well, in America, America's its own enemy.
Well, yeah,
as much as the church is.
Well, that's probably why America has embraced Satan as much as it has, and all of the temptations that are brought forth to pull us off track, because they have no idea where it comes from.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the paganistic traditions that we follow and everything.
Yeah.
And this whole philosophy of trying to not talk about it is killing us.
I know.
It's destroying the moral fiber of our country. It has destroyed them. It's not destroying. It has destroyed the moral fiber of our country, and it's going to continue to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's ridiculous. But it's interesting that these guys are referred to as princes.
Yeah. I mean, they're just doing their job, right?
Yeah, well, that's it. Now that is the question we get into. That's the $1 million question for this show. Is Satan doing his job, or is this a byproduct of a fall?
See, what I think, we'll say, quote unquote, the fall.
Yep.
When that happened, where it happened, it could be a million things, but I believe that he's stuck here.
Yeah.
He's stuck on earth, but he can still present himself to God.
Yeah, he can translate between the two.
But it's probably very hard for him to do, if that makes sense.
I'm trying to find it to pull it up here. I've got the first one. I've got Ezekiel pulled up.
Yeah.
Well, I've got Ezekiel is the letter to the king of Tyre, which we know that this is not a letter to a human being. So I'll try to find it here in detail. Now, that's another question, too, that I had in doing some research in preparation for this week. When in Revelation, where it talks about, I saw Satan fall from heaven like lightning.
Yeah.
Woe to the inhabitants of the earth, because he's been basically thrown out of heaven and he's been loosed upon you.
Yeah.
I'm starting to wonder if that doesn't mean at some point, and Christ said when he sends out the 70 disciples, right?
Yeah, he said the same thing.
And he came back, they all come back and they're all, high-fiving each other about all the miracles they were able to perform, right? And he says, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven.
Yeah.
What I'm starting to get is, and you can clearly see in Job.
Yeah,
right?
I got that pulled up.
Did you pull up Job?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can see, and I had it on my listed notes too. In Job, which is supposedly the oldest book in the Bible.
Yeah.
Older than any other book. Okay. And you can clearly see that this entity, which is always referred to as the adversary, not Satan.
Yeah.
Okay. He's referred to as the adversary, is traveling back and forth between heaven and earth.
Yeah.
Because it starts off right out of the gate and it says, there's a gathering of the assembly, right? God's assembly, which is another thing, right? And it's like he shows up and it's like, well, what are you doing here?
How do you think he showed up? Do you think he showed up with a boombox, gold chains, some Adidas, red and white sweatsuits?
No.
Oh, come on.
But it's fun to entertain.
He showed up like Run DMC,
Oh my goodness.
Very hip. I've nothing against Run DMC. I love Run DMC. But, I'm thinking just like craziness, Or did he show up wearing a red silk suit? Oh, that would be sure.
That's more pimp style.
Yes.
Feather in his hat.
Yes.
Red felt hat.
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably more.
Perfectly groomed hair.
Yeah.
A ring on each finger.
Yep. And I'm gonna pick this up. So I've got it pulled up here. I'll read it. So this is Job 1, and this is verse 6. Now we're reading from the CJB. I'll read from the CJB. I was going to switch to make it easier, but I'll stick with the CJB.
Because that's what I got pulled up.
Okay. It happened one day that the sons of God came to serve Adonai, and among them came the adversary. Adversary. However you want to say it if you're English. If you're nasty. Now, the interesting thing there is it happened one day that the sons of God came to serve Adonai.
Yeah.
Now, who do you think in that particular instance the sons of God are?
All the gods.
You think it's the gods?
I think it's the gods.
Or do you think it's like the angels?
I think it's the gods.
I agree. I think it's the gods. I think it's the council. I think this is occurring at a time before they're being judged.
Yeah.
Or have been judged.
Yeah.
And among them came the adversary. Adonai asked the adversary, "Where are you coming from?" ? It's almost like, what are you doing here? The adversary answered Adonai, "From roaming through the earth, wandering here and there." Adonai asked the adversary, "Did you notice my servant Job? There's no one like him." I changed the language in the CJB just to match Job, what everybody's familiar with. That there's no one like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and shuns evil. The adversary answered Adonai, "It is for nothing that Job fears God." Or is it for nothing that Job fears God? ? You've put a protective hedge around him and his house and everything he has. You've prospered his work, and his livestock are spread out all over the land. But if you reach out your hand and touch whatever he has, without doubt he'll curse you to your face. Thus begins the great tearing of poor Job in this great spiritual battle.
It is like to think about it.
Yeah, when you think you got it bad, come read this. And believe me, I've read it a lot lately.
And it's
last year.
It's like God allowed this.
Yes. It's also interesting, too, that you read that he had a protective hedge around him.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Which I do believe he does for those who live according to his word to some degree.
Yeah.
And are upright in their ways. I think he does. But yeah, he definitely let him do this. So then, the story goes on, and then, Satan can't get it done, and he's trying to get Job to curse God, and God lifts the restrictions on what Satan can do more and more, or the adversary in this case. Now, do you believe that this adversary is the Satan that we know of in the New Testament? It's very clear in the New Testament, Satan is just all over the place.
This is a title.
Right. Well, Satan just means adversary.
I mean, it's how many adversaries are there?
Now, there you go. How many adversaries are there indeed?
How many?
Well, okay. I got to tell you, after doing some research this week and digging into things and really looking into this, I have a much clearer understanding in my mind of what I believe is happening here. And I think there is just one.
Like the adversary.
I think it is the same Satan that we view in the New Testament, yes. Because it does say the adversary. It doesn't say an adversary.
Yeah, because there's other places where it says an adversary or something, I think.
What I read when that would happen is it was more of a humanistic term of your being an adversary to my cause or my whatever, from what I remember reading this week. Yeah.
So would that have been caused by the adversary then?
Oh, like the stumbling? Oh, always. Well, not always. See, that's the other thing too, is I think sometimes we give Satan a whole lot of credit Satan doesn't necessarily need to get. I think we do a perfectly good job of screwing ourselves up without Satan's interference sometimes.
I seen a video. I almost sent it to you, but I did. It's like people on earth just being stupid. and
Only every second of every day.
And God goes, "Did you do this?"
Oh, talking to Satan.
He looks over to Satan, and Satan goes, "That wasn't me."
You made him.
So it's just like, we sometimes give the devil more credit.
Oh, totally, we do. Yeah,
yeah.
Like, do you think he's having to work extra hard on some of the people in this world? Are you kidding me?
Holy cow! He's probably on a beach somewhere thinking, "This is so easy."
That's right.
I mean, let's think about this.
He's like the Jeff Bezos of crime.
I mean, think about it.
Like, I've already put the work in. Y'all are doing it for me.
200 angels came down in Genesis 6, almost wiped out the earth.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. And basically polluted all the bloodline, 200 of them.
What do you think he would do?
With a third?
With a third.
Yeah. A lot of bad things.
He doesn't have to work that hard.
Yeah.
Because that was almost a victory.
The third?
Yeah. Genesis 6.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
He polluted the entire world.
Yeah.
And that wasn't Satan, but it was the 200.
Yeah. And I'm gonna read this too, because we're gonna go back to Ezekiel. So this is Ezekiel 28, and it's 12 through 19. So I'm gonna pull this up. let's see. You put the seal on perfection. You were full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God, covered with all kinds of precious stones, carnelians, topaz, diamonds, beryl, onyx, jasper, sapphires, green feldspar, emeralds. Your pendants and jewels were made of gold. Prepare the day you were created. You were Keruv, Keruv, which is interesting. Protecting a large region, I placed you on God's holy mountain. You walked back and forth among stones of fire. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created until righteousness was found in you, or unrighteousness, was found in you. When your commerce grew, you became filled with violence, and in this way you sinned. Therefore I have thrown you out, defiled from the mountain of God. I have destroyed you, protecting Keruv from among the stones of fire. Your heart grew proud because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. But I have thrown you out on the ground before the kings. I have made you a spectacle. By your many crimes and dishonest trading, you have profaned your sanctuaries. Therefore I brought forth fire from within you, and it has devoured you. I reduced you into ashes on the ground, in sight of all who can see you. All who know you among the peoples will be aghast at you. You are an object of terror, and you will cease to exist. Now, that's interesting. So one of the things that I find interesting in there when you go back and you look at this is it says, well, I guess not so much. I placed you on God's holy mountain.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it could be humanistic language that we're seeing here, but it's interesting that God would be having a prophet relay this message. It says, I placed you on God's holy mountain.
Yeah.
Because naturally my mind goes back to the conversation we had with Doug and the angel of the Lord. So I just wonder if maybe the angel of the Lord, i.e. Jesus, is having this conversation with Ezekiel I placed you on God's holy mountain, which is, I don't know, that's here nor there. It's just an interesting thing.
Yeah, no.
The other thing too is I think that, one of the things that I pick out of here is I think some of this maybe comes across as figurative. Like, I reduced you into ashes on the ground in the sight of all who can see you. All who know you among the peoples will be aghast at you. You are an object of terror, and you will cease to exist. I wonder if this individual, which fits, because where do we get the red Satan that we know of today?
Yeah.
I wonder if this individual was actually disfigured and burnt from within to eradicate the beauty that they had as part of the punishment.
Could have been. Why do we give him horns?
Yeah, where's that come from?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's all, I mean,
it comes from somewhere.
It does.
All comes from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a chimerical creature that exists that didn't, Minotaur, Centaur, whatever tar, retard. I don't think that any of those things didn't exist for real at some point.
Oh, I know. Kind of a little side tangent.
Oh, well, welcome to the Tinfoil Hat Club.
We
do those.
I was listening to Heiser talk, and he thinks Caleb might have been part dog because Caleb means dog. He thinks he might have had dog legs.
Yeah. Maybe he was just loyal.
Well,
like a dog.
There was more to it than just that.
Interesting. Yeah. Typically, they named him things for reasons.
Yeah.
So maybe he was crippled or something? Or
no, it was very...
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we could go off on go into the weeds with that. I've been thinking about that quite a bit. Not more than just...
The Caleb being a dog?
Yeah, because even when Jesus was talking to the Canaanite woman, and he said, I came here for Israel, not the dogs. Because they also worshipped the dog star.
Which is interesting. What's Keanu's band again?
Dog star. Yeah, and that's why she said even the scraps are for the
Shameful.
puppet. You know, why would they? That's a very. I mean, we don't understand that.
I think there's a lot going on that is not as. I
And
think there are things going on that we translate as figurative.
I know
that are probably more literal than what we think.
It's very interesting.
It is very interesting.
I mean, because we try to. I went back and I was refreshing my Greek mythology this week. And it should be history. It really should be.
It is. It's the history of the Bible.
We Americans think it's mythology.
Well, of course.
Because that couldn't happen.
It just basically took everything out of the Bible and then just put their spin on it.
Well, if you throw the chimerical, the Nephilim, the giants in with that, you're like, oh, that's history. And it is history.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's just insane.
But we'll go through that and we'll teach that in school, but then we don't tie in any of the other stuff.
Here's something that I learned. I know we're not talking about this, but it all relates to Satan.
It does.
That the city of Troy, they were kind of like in confederation with the Hittites.
Really?
Yeah. Who were the Hittites? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Everything touches what Satan tried to destroy.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm finding too is I dig more and more, and no matter what I'm looking at, whether it's this stuff, really anything, everything always comes back to Turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because obviously in digging into this, one of the things that you're going to find in Revelation where it talks about where Satan's throne is, and it's in Pergamum, which is in Turkey.
Yeah.
And I think you can still go see it today.
Yeah. And who else had that? Hitler?
Yeah.
Who else had that most recently?
I don't know.
Obama had his acceptance speech.
Did he?
He had the same altar and everything set up. I'm not saying I'm not saying he.
I am. He's part Satan. They are, though.
Oh, but
it's like,
okay. But I don't think he's the Antichrist. That's what I'm saying.
No, I don't.
Because the Antichrist wouldn't need a teleprompter to talk to third graders.
Well, Kamala is definitely not the Antichrist. Then she's the anti-thought.
Yeah. So
neither's Donald. neither one are the great thinkers of our time.
You want to buy my Bible?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We're in so much trouble.
We're screwed.
We are screwed. We're in trouble. It doesn't shock because it's really just a choice of like which one can govern the country better because neither one of them are moral people.
Think about this: Satan's sitting back and laughing. I just thought of this.
He's got to be thinking. He's like, I got you all right where I want you.
This is
working out better than I ever dreamed.
The song "War Pigs."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's today.
Oh yeah.
I don't think people, if you read the lyrics, it's scary.
Oh, yeah.
And who sits back and laughs? It's Satan.
Satan laughing spreads his wings.
Yes. Yeah. Because he's done what, all he wants to do is kill and destroy and separate from God.
Yeah.
And God wants to bring us in.
Yeah. And we're rejecting God at an alarming rate.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me that the further that we societally drift away from God, yet scientifically, there's more and more evidence every day that he's real.
I know.
And everything that we read in that crusty, dusty old book that nobody wants to pretend is real is real.
I know.
It's just amazing to me.
I know.
We live in an amazing time, a terrifying time.
Yeah.
But an amazing time in history.
Yes.
But it's... This country on its current trajectory will be like every other country that was like this at this point in their history. And the next step is the demise.
Yeah.
But it's by design because these people that are in charge want to destroy us.
Oh, yeah.
They're in league with Satan.
Oh, yeah.
All these secret societies that are there are a lot of good men that are being sucked into these, secret esoteric societies.
Then the water slowly turned up.
Yeah, you do. You get slowly indoctrinated into the bath, and before you know it, you're like, Satan is good, Lucifer is good, and God is bad.
Yeah.
The light that you're so seeking desperately is not the light of God, and it's not the light of Christ. It's the light of Luciferianism.
Yeah.
And the light of Satan.
So
he's the great counterfeit, right? I even wrote that down this week. Here, 2 Corinthians 11:14. The adversary masquerades as an angel of light.
Yeah, he always does.
2 Corinthians 11:14. Lucifer, and like your King James, Lucifer, son of the morning star. Well, the morning star was known as Venus. Venus was the morning star.
Yeah,
but again, it's a counterfeit, right? It's a counterfeit of Christ.
And I had this pulled up. Dear friends, do not trust every spirit. On the contrary, test the spirits to see whether they are from God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. Here is how you recognize the Spirit of God. Every spirit which acknowledges that Yeshua, the Messiah, has come as a human being is from God.
That's right.
I mean, we are commanded to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's interesting that I don't want to say there's like a resurgence of spiritual things.
In some ways, there is, for those that have ears and heart.
Yeah.
Like I really have, like I wasn't there last Monday, hopefully be there tomorrow, but so encouraged by how many folks in our church are showing up to learn about this realm.
Yeah.
The spiritual realm and spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
Because I know for me, it was kind of like I had to do some soul searching and some reevaluation this week and kind of looking at like, my future and work and what are the things that I want to do. And it was kind of like unbeknownst to me, I wasn't trying to go all weird and ethereal with it, but I kind of had written down, what do I want to do from here until I'm dead? And my life's mission, if you will, is to share God's truth of two things. To share God's truth to teach other people how to have godly leadership. All right. But the other thing too is what we do on this show, which is talk and teach people about spiritual warfare and all the aspects of it.
Yeah.
This is like this show and the people we have on and the conversations we have is like spiritual war boot camp.
Yeah.
Because we get into things that the church that's the whole premise of the show. Like when I go out and I reach out to guests, I've said this before, they're like, I just tell them, I'm like, hey, my name's Kyle, my co-host Ben and I, we run the Tinfoil Hat Club. We'd love to have you on the show. We cover all the fringe biblical and conspiratorial things the church doesn't like to talk about.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you on. Would you be interested in doing that? If so, just hit us back up.
Yeah.
And the success rate has been very high with that.
Yeah.
And that's the truth of the show. That's what we talk about. That's why we're talking about things this today.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was another one too. And this should speaking of spiritual warfare, this should highlight for you right here, where we are and what Satan has the capability of doing. Okay. And this is Luke 22:31. Okay. This is at the time where right near the end, where Christ is getting ready to be taken into custody and crucified and everything. And I'll actually rewind a little bit to verse 28. You are the ones who have stayed with me throughout my trials, just as my Father gave me the right to rule, so I give you an appointment. So this is obviously Christ talking to some of the disciples, namely to eat and drink at my table in my kingdom and to sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Simon, Simon, listen. The adversary demanded to have you people for himself, to sift you like wheat. But I prayed for you, Simon, that your trust might not fail. And you, once you have turned back in repentance, strengthen your brothers. Simon said to him, Lord, I am prepared to go with you both to prison and to death. Jesus replied, or Yeshua replied, I tell you, Peter, the rooster will not crow today until you have denied 3 times that you know me. So this is where we get that. Yeah. But the interesting line that we often skip over right there is the adversary demanded to have you people for himself, to sift you like wheat, which is exactly what he did to God when it came to Job.
Yep.
Right? It's like, hey, if you let me do it, I can get this done. The same exact thing that seemingly happens in the Book of Jubilees when it comes to Abraham and Isaac, right? Because the picture we don't necessarily get in the Bible is the driving force or who's driving the car behind that sacrifice.
Yeah.
And I think in the Book of Jubilees, it kind of gets into that. I think, was it Mastema?
Yeah.
That was behind that. So that's another interesting point that I wanted to kind of talk to you about is in the Book of Jubilees, we don't have Satan, but we have this cat known as the Prince Mastema, and he is referred to as a prince. So this entity, whoever he is, whatever he is on the same level as Michael, Satan. This individual is considered a prince.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for this individual, it seems like they're a different entity than Satan.
Yeah. Wasn't he Mastema, the angel of death?
Yes, in the Bible, the closest you're going to get, some translations say the angel of death. Some translations say the slaughterer.
Yeah.
I believe our CJB says the slaughterer.
Yeah.
I don't think some of them just say that God's the one that did it.
Yeah.
Which is wrong. God doesn't do much himself. He always typically does things most of the time via proxy.
Yeah.
I ordered it. It's kind of like a mob. That's a terrible way to put it, but you kind of get the vibe that way of like, I sit at the head. I'm the head. So yeah, I need you to go into Egypt and kill the firstborn. All the firstborn. I need you to take care of. Whack them. Yeah, whack them. They've been cruel to my people. This is terrible. Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, it's seemingly that Mastema is the one that did this.
Yeah.
Now, Mastema...
and he was also the one that was getting ready to... When David... Wasn't he the one that... when he took the census when he wasn't supposed to.
No, that was Satan.
Oh, that was Satan?
Yeah, I did read that this week too.
Okay. There you go.
No, that one was Satan. Because I think in that particular instance, the sin there was, I'm focused on my own greatness and not what God has done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the sin there. I have Jubilees pulled up here in a PDF, which is awesome. And I can also search Mastema. Mastema is mentioned 16 times, not individual 16 times. Sometimes it's the same instance. We're just repeating the name because we're telling a story. But the first time that you see this entity come into the scene is actually in chapter 10. And this is after the flood. And I'm going to back up a little bit because to give you a little backstory. In the third week of this Jubilee, again, after the flood, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah.
Already?
It didn't take long, bro. And to make them sin and to destroy them. The sons of Noah came to Noah, their father, and they told him about the demons that were leading astray and blinding and slaying his sons.
Okay, can you stop there for a second? Can you read that and just start over again real quick?
Want me to start from the very top?
Yeah, because
in the third week of this Jubilee, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah and to make them sin and to destroy them. The sons of Noah came to Noah, their father, and they told him about the demons that were leading astray and blinding and slaying his son's sons.
Do you know, okay, for those of you playing at home, okay, after the Nephilim have died, the flood, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of demons roaming the earth.
Yes. And again, if you are not familiar with the show, maybe this is the first show you're catching, or you're not familiar with the backstory. A demon is not a fallen angel.
No.
A demon is a disembodied dead Nephilim. So these giants that you read about in Genesis 6 that created all these offspring, okay, that were the Nephilim that you read about where the angels created offspring, they created Nephilim, and then all the offspring that come from that. The punishment for all these entities, because they were not created under God's purview with his command.
There's no place for them.
There is no place for them in the book of life, so they are to remain on earth because they were created on earth, whereas we may be created on earth, but our spiritual essence comes from the spiritual realm.
Yes.
We are actually not from here.
We are a spiritual being.
We are a spiritual being.
On a physical plane.
That's correct. So these entities, because they were here, they have no spirit from the spiritual realm, they were not from there, are left here as disembodied spirits roaming the earth. That's why a demon, well, why do they always possess people?
No, they haven't.
Because they need a body.
Yeah.
Why was Jesus able to cast the demons into the pigs and then they ran off the cliff?
Maybe that's why we need AI.
And it's an interesting thought. We've talked about that a little bit before. So you wanted me to pause, though.
I wanted to
just for that, the
Yes.
backstory? Yes. So that's the backstory of what you're reading here. So now that you understand that, it makes a whole lot more sense, not only what we're going to read, but what a real demon is.
Yeah.
You know, where a demon comes from and what it is. And they hate us because we have a physical body. That's why they want to take the physical body and do with it what they will. By the way, did you ever watch Nefarious?
No.
You guys need to watch Nefarious. Everybody should watch Nefarious.
I rewatched Van Helsing this week, too.
I've never seen that movie.
It brings up some good questions, too.
Is he a demon hunter?
Yeah.
Is that what he is?
Well, he hunts monsters.
Oh, okay. I saw it on there, and I never have seen it, so maybe we'll have to watch that. So, long story short, we go to Noah, we go to Grandpa, and we're like, you got to do something about these demons. So, I'm going to summarize this just for the sake of time. Noah prays, okay, and he's just basically like, Lord, can you help me here? There's too many of them. They're destroying your creation here. We just tried to get rid of all this nonsense, and we're getting right back where we were. And one of the things he says is, you know how your watchers, the fathers of these spirits, Genesis 6, acted in my day, and as for these spirits which are living, imprison them and hold them fast in the place of condemnation, and let them not bring destruction on the sons of your servant, my Elohim, for these are like cancer and are created in order to destroy. Let them not rule over the spirits of the living, for you alone can exercise dominion over them, and let them not have power over the sons of the righteous from now on and forever. Which is interesting that he says in here, only you can have power over dominion over them.
Yeah.
Which I believe now we actually can have power and dominion over them because of what we were given with the Holy Spirit and because of Christ.
But that's we don't even understand that.
Yes. Which is why a lot of times we don't even know it's happening.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the things we see in the world are demon possessed people.
I do too.
Yeah. I think you and I have both grown even in more in that as we've kind of gotten in here and studied. And Yah the Elohim commanded us, the messengers, the good angels, to bind all of them. So now we've bound up all of the demons. Okay. The chief of the spirits, Mastema, came and said, Yah Creator, let some of them remain before me, and let them listen to my voice, and do all that I shall say to them. For if some of them are not left to me, I shall not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men. For these are for corruption and leading astray before my judgment. For great is the wickedness of the sons of men. So God says, okay, let 1/10 of them remain before him, and let 9/10 of them descend into the place of condemnation.
Yeah.
So we only have 1/10 of the original demons.
Yeah.
That were here before.
And it's speculated anywhere, I think, between, we'll say 400,000 to 1 million.
Oh, of the demons?
Yeah.
Nephilim that were dead?
Yeah. There could be more than that.
Probably more. Probably more. I would say more just because of how long we went before,
There's like
a long time.
Yeah.
Like a long time.
I figure 500 years.
I think you can kind of read in there was 500 years to wipe them out, but then they were obviously going for however long before that too. Yeah. So you could probably say maybe even 1,000 years potentially.
Yeah.
A long time. And look how much we populate in 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Like it's exponential, right? So anyway.
And they were everything.
Yeah. This is interesting. I want to read this next line just because I've always felt this way. I had an inkling in my soul before I ever read this, that this was the case, because I looked around me and I just started to put things together and it didn't make sense the way that a lot of things worked. The next line is, he commanded one of us, meaning one of the angels, to teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness, nor strive in righteousness. We did according to all his words. All the malignant evil ones we bound in the place of condemnation. 10th part of them we left, so that they might be subject in the presence of Satan on the earth. So it does say Satan in this version. We explained to Noah all the medicines of the diseases together with their seductions, and how he might heal them with the herbs of the earth. Noah wrote down all things in a book as we instructed him concerning every kind of medicine. Thus the evil spirits were precluded from hurting the sons of Noah. And he gave all that he had written to Shem, his eldest son, for he loved him greatly above all his sons.
Well, I always go back to the creation. God created everything and said it was good.
Mhm.
Like plants and everything.
Yeah.
So everything God created is good.
Yeah.
It's how we use it is what's bad.
That's correct. That's correct. I watch these pharmaceutical ads and I'm just appalled. I watched one for Jardiance earlier and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like to control your A1C level for diabetes.
Oh.
And like, usually there's some of the side effects. You're like,
Death?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Low, increased chance of lower limb loss.
Wow.
I'm like, congratulations, your A1C will be under control, but now you're going to need a scooter the rest of your life because you're Stumpy the Magnificent.
Yeah.
That's insane to me how we let this stuff through. But anyway, I'll get off
yeah.
I could go on considering what we've been through here lately.
Isn't it, in Australia, they're not allowed to show pharmaceutical ads, I think.
Well, hallelujah. Sounds like a good idea. We should treat it like the smoking. You can't see no more tobacco commercials either.
I know. Well, that's the number one thing. Think about it.
Oh, come on.
It's the number one business.
Oh, of course it is. Look what just happened to us this week.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that, by the way. But, yeah. I'll keep going.
And I mean,
I know. Prince Mastema, this is mention number 2. So now in that last one, we had Mastema, which is the prince of these demons, right?
Yeah.
That he controls these demons. But then we also had a mention of Satan.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly it seems like these two entities are working in league with one another, right?
Yeah.
Prince Mastema exerted himself to do all this, and he sent out other spirits, which were put under his control, to do all manner of wrong and sin, and all manner of transgression, to corrupt and destroy, and to shed blood on the earth. For this reason, he called the name of Sero and Serug, for everyone turned to do all manner of sin and transgression. I have never figured out what that meant.
I don't either.
I tried to find it, and I couldn't find it.
There was some, there's some words that, like Jubilees and Enoch, that we had no idea, and we looked them up, and it was like,
yeah,
Webster's never heard of that word.
I know. I've tried to get into this, and then we start getting into offspring. But anyway, next mention is Mastema shows up again. He sent ravens and birds to devour the seed that was sown on the land, in order to destroy the land and rob the children of men of their labors before they could plow in the seed. The ravens picked it up from the surface of the ground. So it seems like this dude is not just only interested. He seems like he just wants to reap kind of havoc.
Yeah.
So do you believe this entity to be Satan, or is he different to you?
I think he's different.
Prince Mastema came and said before Elohim, "Look, Abraham loves Isaac his son, and he delights in him above all things. Tell him to offer him as a burnt offering on the altar, and you will see if he will do this command, and you will know if he is faithful in every way that you test him."
Yeah.
Yah knew that Abraham was faithful throughout all of his afflictions, for he had tried him through his country and with famine, and had tried him with the wealth of kings, and had tried him again through his wife when she was torn from him, and with circumcision, and had tried him through Ishmael and Hagar, his maidservant, when he sent them away. And everything he had tried him, he was found faithful, and his soul was not impatient. And he was not slow to act, because he was faithful and a lover of Yah.
Yeah.
So off we go there. It's kind of like a pre-Job deal, or whatever.
I think it's a different person. I think Mastema, because I think it would be, Prince Mastema. That could be a title. Maybe it is. I'm sure. What does Mastema mean?
I don't know. Do you know what it means?
I don't know.
I don't know what it means either.
I mean,
so this is interesting. He said, Elohim will provide for himself a sheep for a burnt offering for my son, and he neared the place on the mountain of Elohim. So here we're in the Abraham and Isaac sacrifice story. He built an altar, and he placed the wood on the altar, and bound Isaac his son, and placed him on the wood that was on the altar, and stretched out his hand to take the knife to kill Isaac his son. I stood in the presence of him, and before Prince Mastema, and the pure messengers stood and wept over the altar as Prince Mastema and his messengers rejoiced and said, Isaac will be destroyed, and we will see if Abraham is faithful.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting line there because it says Mastema and his messengers. So it's almost like messengers in this particular case would be angels, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like this individual also has
his cronies. Well, he asked for a 10th.
Yeah.
There's like, I'm telling you, there's a
lot of stuff.
I don't think, as Maria said the other night in one of our conversations, my wife, we're going to get to heaven and we're still not going to know. We're still going to be finding out stuff.
Oh, yeah, it'll be amazing.
And it'd be like, what? What do you mean? I was wrong.
Adrian always says she hopes it's like a museum. You know, you walk through a museum and they have the little rooms that you go off to the side and there's like a slideshow that plays on a loop that kind of, gives you the history.
Fills you in.
She's like, I hope it's like that. So she's funny.
Fills you in.
That's awesome. Yeah. So that's interesting how this is all going. Of course, Abraham doesn't do that. And the Prince Mastema was put to shame, it says.
Yeah.
Prince Mastema was put to shame, was bound by the messengers. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked over and saw a ram caught by his horns, and then that became the sacrifice, which of course would echo what would happen with Christ later. Unfortunately, there would be no ram. He was the sacrifice.
He was. We got into that last week.
That's right.
No, we did. No, yeah, we did. I was thinking because I kept in our Bible study, I brought up that what's his name? Barabbas. Yeah, Barabbas was the scapegoat at the crucifixion of Christ. He was the one that was released to Azazel,
which is hilarious because the name Barabbas means, I believe, son of God.
Yeah,
Bar, son, Abbas, Abba is father.
Yeah, and he was released. He was the scapegoat for Azazel.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
There you go. Is that what you guys talked about Monday?
Yeah.
Dang it. I missed it. It's too bad.
I brought that up because it was like somehow it got there because it was the two goats.
Leviticus.
Yeah, Leviticus with the two goats.
So here is
definitely Satan. I mean, Barabbas was an evil dude.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's I think murderer, right?
Yeah,
I think it says that in there, right? I don't know. Could be the stories they've told us. Basically, we go on. The next mention is Jacob, Rebecca. Let's see. He gave you all the blessings which he blessed Adam, Enoch, Noah, and Shem, and all the things which he had told me, and all the things which he promised to give to me. May he cause to be yours and your offspring forever, according to the days of the heaven above the earth. And the spirits of Mastema shall not rule over you, or over your offspring, or turn you from Yah, who is your Elohim from now on forever. May Yah Elohim be a father to you, and may you be like his firstborn son. I think this is when Abraham is passing away. Or Isaac, maybe. Yeah, this is when Isaac is passing away, and he's basically called Jacob in to kind of tell him all this.
Yeah.
The next mention we get was a kind of, we skipped to Moses. And we're telling Moses what Mastema tried to do to him. And this is chapter 48. In the 6th year of the 3rd week of the 49th Jubilee, you fled and went in to live in the land of Midian for 5 weeks and 1 year, which is with his father-in-law Jethro.
Yeah.
You returned to Egypt, which is not a close place, by the way. I think we have a very Western idea of that.
It's a
long way away.
Yeah.
You returned to Egypt in the 2nd week in the 2nd year in the 50th Jubilee. You know what he said to you on Mount Sinai and what Prince Mastema desired to do with you when you returned to Egypt. Did he, Mastema, not seek to kill you with all his power and not deliver the Egyptians from your hand when he saw that you were sent to execute judgment and to take revenge on the Egyptians? But I delivered you out of his hand, and you performed the signs and wonders which you were sent to perform in Egypt against Pharaoh and against all of his household and against his servants and his people. Yah exacted a great vengeance on them for Israel's sake and struck them through the plagues of blood, frogs, lice, dog flies, malignant boils, breaking out in pustules, the death of their cattle, the plague of hailstones. He destroyed everything that grew from them by plagues of locusts, which devoured the remainder left by the hail and darkness, and by the death of the firstborn men and animals. Yah took vengeance on all of their idols and burned them with fire. So that was the next mention.
It's really rough.
Prince Mastema stood against you and sought to deliver you into the hands of Pharaoh. He helped the Egyptian sorcerers when they stood up and committed the evil acts that they did in your presence. Right?
Janus and Jambres.
Yep, Janus and Jambres. Indeed, we permitted them to work, but the remedies we did not allow to be worked by their hands. Oh, this is interesting. Yah struck them with malignant ulcers. Hemorrhoids? Question mark? In parentheses. What's up your butt? Even after all these signs and wonders, Prince Mastema was put to shame because he took courage and cried to the Egyptians to pursue you with all the power the Egyptians had, with their chariots and with their horses and with all the hosts of the people of Egypt. But I stood between the Egyptians and Israel, and we delivered Israel out of his hand and out of the hand of his people. Yah brought them through the middle of the sea as if it were dry land. Now I'm going to pause here, because for those of you that don't know, when you read the Book of Jubilees, this is being dictated on Mount Sinai from an angel per the Lord. God says,
could it be Jesus that was doing it?
Yes. But I stood between the Egyptians and Israel, and we delivered Israel out of his hand and out of the hand of his people. Now, it could be Michael as well that's dictating this to him, which is an option as well, because Michael is the prince of the Israelites.
Yeah.
That's clearly stated in the Bible. Yah, our Elohim, through all the people whom he, Mastema, brought to pursue Israel into the middle of the sea, into the depths of the bottomless pit beneath the children of Israel, even as the people of Egypt had thrown Israel's children into the river. He took vengeance on 1 million of them. In addition, 1,000 strong and energetic men were destroyed because of the death of the suckling children of your people, which they had thrown into the river.
Oh, 1 million.
On the 14th day, on the 15th, and on the 16th, and on the 17th, and on the 18th days, Prince Mastema was bound and imprisoned and placed behind the children of Israel so that he might not accuse them. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Accuse.
Yeah.
So is this the entity that we see in Job? Or is it Satan? Or are they the same?
Or are they the same?
See, these are questions we don't really know the answers to.
No,
we don't. It's just study this stuff. It's fascinating. You might find something as you. I've found some stuff just as we've been going through today.
Yeah,
that stood out to me.
And my mind is turning really, really fast.
I know, right? On the 19th day, we let them, Mastema and his demons, that's what it says, loose so that they might help the Egyptians pursue the children of Israel. So he basically held them back to let them have the head start so they could get,
I was going to sneeze.
At the crossing point. On the 14th day, we bound him that he might not accuse the children of Israel. On the day when he asked the Egyptians for vessels and garments, vessels of silver, vessels of gold, vessels of bronze, in order to exact from the Egyptians a price in return for the bondage they had been forced to serve. We did not lead the children of Israel from Egypt, let the children of Israel leave Egypt empty-handed.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Here you go. Remember the commandment which Yah commanded over you concerning the Passover. You should, again, we're talking to Moses still. You should celebrate it in this season on the 14th day of the first month. You should kill the sacrifice before evening. They should eat it on the night of the evening of the 14th from the time of the setting of the sun. Because on this night, at the beginning of the festival, at the beginning of the joy, you were eating the Passover in Egypt when all the powers of Mastema had been let loose to kill all the firstborn in the land of Egypt.
Yeah.
From the firstborn of Pharaoh to the firstborn of the captive maidservant in the mill, and even the firstborn of the cattle.
Yeah.
It almost seems like to me, this particular entity has almost more power in some ways than even Satan has.
Yeah.
Which is kind of scary.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that Satan, never any stories that I know of Satan killing people. Well, it says he was a murderer from the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
that's the last mention. He's not mentioned ever again after that.
I was also thinking of when we read the Gospel of Nicodemus and the whole exchange between like the Prince of Hell.
Yes, Beelzebub.
Yes.
I have that written down too.
And obviously it is a totally different person.
Yes.
Than what we think.
When you look up Beelzebub in your Bible, what I found was he was known as the god of Ekron.
Okay.
The king of Ekron, which I believe is over by the coast.
Okay.
Kind of in the Philistine area, I think.
Yeah.
It
makes sense.
If memory serves.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, in the Gospel of Nicodemus.
Yeah. And he was mad.
He was not happy. He's like, bro, what did you do? Why did you do what you did?
To Satan.
And I think he actually throws him out.
Yeah, he did.
He tells him, get out of here.
Yeah.
So it's like he has dominion over hell.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bad term. Over Sheol.
Hades.
Not hell. I don't like hell. Hell's, you know my take on that. But
I know.
People don't understand.
Hell is like...
I've been really feeling called to do a sermon on that. Maybe as this 1 week to give your dad a week off. We're going to talk about
hellfire and brimstone.
The spiritual afterlife. They don't, because I guarantee a lot of people in there are going to think, where do you go when you die? Go to hell.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. Well, what's like a fire then?
Mm-hmm. That's the final judgment.
Yeah.
I was, how much time?
Now we're good.
Think
we're going to make it a 3-hour today.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
When we were talking about the mountain of God at the beginning, I remember, shout out to Zen Garcia on this one.
Yeah.
That he was talking about that I'm loosely saying things, to try to dumb things down. The angels that are trapped here on earth would try to fly to hear the mountain of God, to hear utterance of prophecy. But by the time they get there, they can't get there because they're exhausted and they fall back down to earth. And they said some people can see them and it looks like a falling star.
Interesting.
Yeah. And just knowing that most of the evil entities are trapped here.
Yeah.
Even though they're here, they still want to get back to God.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and we know that that's the case because it says like for the angels of Genesis 6 in the Bible, because there are other texts throughout the Bible, specifically in the New Testament, that clearly talk about the events in Genesis 6. And it says that the angels left their proper estate.
Yeah.
They left their proper place.
Yeah.
And came down here, and here is where they're now being held.
Yeah.
They're bound in the depths below Sheol.
Yeah.
In
chains of Tartarus.
Yeah, Tartarus. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just had a mind.
But it's just it's interesting that I'm sure that there's some we've all entertained angels and not know it.
Oh yeah, probably.
And it's just, are the ones here, quote unquote, our guardian angels? Can they traverse back and forth?
I would say yes. Now that's the other thing that I want to get your take on is like, okay, for Satan. And before I do that, I just want to say, Lisa, thank you very much. We see this right here. Thank you for leaving your kind note there. It says, love your show, guys. First time catching you live. Keep up the good work. Praise the Lord. Thank you very much. My question is Satan permanently exiled from heaven now?
I don't think so.
Think he can still spiritual back and forth?
Yeah. Because
it almost seems like to me that the more I read now, it like when you read in Revelation, it's almost like you are cast out of heaven. Is what we read in Revelation, the battle between Michael and the dragon.
Yeah.
It's referred to as the dragon. is that an event that has already occurred, or is that an event that is actually going to be occurring in the future?
Wow. It was right after the birth of Christ.
This is true. That's it, lineage-wise,
It would,
or literary-wise, I should say.
and this is just me. I have no, nothing to back me up. But could have it been when Herod was killing all of the babies, 2 years old and younger? And then God was like, I've had enough. You're out of here.
Now, what we just read, that's an interesting point that you bring up, because Mastema is not the one that is charged with the crime of having that done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That I remember reading just a second ago.
Yeah.
He wasn't the one that was,
No.
tried to kill. So that was who we would refer to as Satan.
Yeah. Okay, here's a thought. Just what if Satan is like the one that is supposed to try this is going to sound terrible, but kill, like he's just for Israel. Like he's the adversary to Israel.
Oh, okay. Now I like he would be their, he would be their, like their God is obviously God.
Yeah.
But like how the other nations would have a God.
Yeah.
They would have an adversary.
Yeah.
And he would be the adversary for the Israelites.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thought.
I just had that.
I would say maybe originally, but not anymore.
Yeah, now he's like everybody's.
Yeah, and the reason I say that is because immediately the text that comes up and that talks about, your father, the devil, has been a murderer from the beginning. Was that Christ?
Yeah, that was Jesus.
Then he would have been talking to the disciples.
Well, he was talking to the Pharisees.
Well, yeah, which would still fit because they were
no, they weren't.
No, they weren't. So that would mean that he wouldn't just be at that point.
Sad.
Then a lot of the New Testament stuff with Paul too, he's talking about,
we don't know our enemy.
No, we don't. And I think a lot of the information has been deliberately maybe obfuscated and held from us, because it's like it seems like a lot of the original, somebody on our show said it. Maybe it was Gary that had said that he didn't, maybe it was Doug too. I think maybe he said that some of the texts had been changed over time to try to protect us from, to keep from, to like protect Christ.
Yeah.
Which is stupid, because it's like only man is arrogant enough to think that he needs to intercede on behalf of God.
Yeah.
It's like, I also think that that's just idiotic to think that we could destroy something God made.
Oh, yeah.
Like the earth and stuff too. I'm like, now are we reckless and stupid and disgusting? Yeah, absolutely we are. But
yeah,
it's already destroying itself.
Speaking of
that's the whole point of the fall.
Nothing like your kids to point out your faults, right?
Oh, amen.
So we were having a discussion yesterday.
That's when you kill them and you make more. It's terrible.
No. Isaac, he was like, we were talking about watching a movie, and he's like, well, you guys never let me watch The Godfather. And so he was like, I remember I was sitting down here, I was playing a game on my computer, and you guys were fine. You can sit and watch it. And he goes, I peek up for a minute, and I look, and there's a horse head in the guy's bed.
Yeah.
He goes, he's like, maybe I understood why you said you didn't want me to watch it when I was so little.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it's like a parent's job is to protect their kids.
Teach them for the world and protect them.
But our job is not to protect Jesus.
No, we don't need it.
And the church tries to do that.
Yeah, it does.
It really does.
David Rizzuto here, Jr., he said, what if Israel is this world and we're all part of Israel? Well, technically that is true now because we've been grafted in. So that technically that's true. Like that's why I said a second ago of like, if Satan was originally just intended to be the tripper upper of, the the Israelites, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which then you'd have to go back to the garden. I guess that would kind of be a problem there too, unless you go lineage wise. But anyway, either way, it would be everybody now because we've all been grafted into the body of Christ.
Yeah.
Thankfully. I'm thankful for that.
Oh, yeah.
Happy for the grafting.
Yeah.
But that's also been done. And this comes across a certain way that we view it as a humanistic way of like jealous girlfriend, but that's not the way this is. But God did that because he's hoping to spur jealousy in his people so that they will return to him.
Yeah.
So, and it says at the end they will, but
yeah,
we'll see when that's going to happen.
Look what we're getting ready to do this week at our church. What are we going to do? Feast of Tabernacles.
Oh yeah, that's true. Feast of Tabernacles. So if you're in our area, then join us for the Feast of Tabernacles at our church. So we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Let's see. James Shrimp Fajitas is put up here. The most terrifying information is held back. So terrible. Even God said, do not write it down. 7 thunders of Revelation 10:4. So I've been doing a lot of thinking and searching the Bible for hints. This is true. There are some things that God says, do not reveal for now. I'm just glad we won't be here for that part. At least that's the way I think. I know I'm not a pre-tribber. We're not going to get very farted. But that bad part that we read about at the very end when we get to judgment, like true wrath, we're not going to be here for that.
Yeah.
Christ is going to spare us, thankfully.
Yeah. I hope.
I hope so too.
Or maybe we can put it off so long we won't even be here.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, I guess, to kind of finish out the day of like, we've asked a couple of our guests this, but like, do you think Satan can win? Do you think Satan thinks Satan can win?
Oh, yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's insane to me.
It's ego.
Oh, that makes sense.
What have I said
it makes sense.
in the past? Like, politicians say the same 5 things that Satan did in what you read earlier, wasn't it? I will.
Yeah.
It's never,
I will lie. I will cheat. I will steal. I will murder.
yes.
I will deceive. I will gaslight. I will project.
Yes.
That's their I wills.
Ego.
Right. It's true. It's like the ultimate psychopath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he does. I think he thinks he can win.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But the thing is, he already lost. He lost in Genesis 3:15.
I know. Yeah.
But
game over. You didn't think so, though. You can keep trying.
Yeah.
I guess what's your other option? If you're him, like you might as well. You got to believe you can win, right?
Yeah. Then that's
ultimate underdog kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's like it just perpetuates over and over.
It's crazy to think that he's persuasive enough to get a third of the angels to go along with him. Because I think it's the verse in Isaiah, or the section in Isaiah that talks about, or was it Revelation talks about a third?
Oh, it just says a third.
Is it Revelation?
It says a third of the stars fell.
That's Revelation, isn't it?
Yeah. Now does that mean, and I know everybody's
we might be getting ready to have that happen here.
Yeah, I know.
Seems like it.
Yeah. I mean, a third is a lot. Because if every star is an angel.
Yeah. I mean, like, who knows how many were created originally, right?
Or is it just the constellations?
Oh, that's interesting.
The ones that actually are for signs and seasons. The ones that actually make something.
Yeah. I don't know. That's an interesting question.
Yeah,
it's an interesting question. It's interesting too when you get into some of that too, the constellations and stuff, because of how celestially aligned things are, and they all have real deeper meaning than we think of today.
Yeah, a guy wrote a book might have been like 1890s. It's called The Gospel and the Stars, and it breaks down each constellation, what it actually means.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
That would be pretty good.
Can't remember the guy's name.
David Rizzuto Jr. also asked, do y'all ever have a call-in show? We have never had a call-in show.
No.
But we do have a membership that you can actually join, and we're going to start having monthly member chats. Yeah. We haven't had one yet because we need more members, but we're going to start having monthly membership chats where only you as a member can get access, and we're going to have open Q&A and open discussion. So, but yeah, it's an interesting the whole thing is interesting. And I think it's one of the things that the information is so thin.
It's sparse.
Yeah. And we have to kind of get in there and read stuff and ask questions, because I think we have a much better understanding of the good side of the ball versus the
And it's not really
bad.
Is it bad that we want to know?
No.
You know?
I think it's good that we want to know. God wants us to want to know.
Yeah.
He doesn't want us to be ignorant.
Yeah. I know.
He wouldn't have left us a book.
And somebody
Books.
probably messed with the book.
Oh, someone's messed with the book for sure.
Yeah.
You leave man in charge of anything, he'll screw it up.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, even what's left in the book tells us that.
Yeah. And what did
destructive.
What did Heiser say? Believe everything that was like go off what they were found at the Dead Sea Scrolls, because that's what they were working with, and how much are they were working with, that it's just like we just know a little bit.
What did he say too? It doesn't have to be scripture to be important.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah,
or I forget how he phrased it.
Yeah,
something along those lines. But I think he was saying something else in that statement.
Yeah, and it's like
he couldn't really say as a tenured theological professor.
Yes.
He was basically saying, these are safe. You can read them. It's okay. They're not going to hurt you.
No.
It actually helps you tremendously.
Yeah, I know. It really does.
So, yep. Oh, Prometheus Lens podcast. The Adversary. Hey, Justin. So our friend Justin, if you haven't already checked out, if you like our show and you haven't checked out Justin's show, Justin has the Prometheus Lens podcast. Check out Justin.
Yeah.
He has a great show.
He's a pretty cool guy.
He's an all right dude. Yeah.
Hope everything's going okay for him down there.
So it doesn't have to be divinely inspired to be important. Thank you, Justin.
Yes.
Yeah. I think he was saying that to tell you that it's okay, but he couldn't come right out and endorse him because he would be.
Oh, yeah.
He would have been.
Which I've always been in the camp.
Crucified, for lack of a better term.
I've always been a little weird.
Yeah, we need more. We need more people that are not so dogmatically hooked into the church at every aspect. Yeah. We need to be able to free and think for ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, I can say I've changed the way I believe in the past 25 years on a lot of the things, but the key things have not changed.
No, I would agree.
I can say for the past 25 years, I knew what Genesis 6 was. I knew what it meant.
Yeah, I can't say that.
I always wanted to know more because I had a lot of questions of things that have happened and I've witnessed. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I would say 2014 or 15 that I really started to dig into this.
Yeah.
And things were opened that I was just like, oh man, that makes sense. It's like putting mayonnaise on your ham sandwich.
Where have you been all my life?
It just makes it better.
It does. Yeah. No, it does, because the other thing too is, you have to start asking some harder questions about where does our Bibles come from?
Yeah.
Where do our Bibles come from? Proper English. Where do our Bibles come from? What is the history behind that? Who has influenced it along the way?
Yeah.
And when you start digging into that, it leads you down some interesting paths. And it's kind of like finding out who your real parents are. Yeah. You find out you were adopted, and you go back and you're trying to find out the history of your lineage and who your real parents are and where you come from. And when you start to go down that road, you get your eyes opened and you find some stuff out. So,
yeah.
But yeah, our Bibles have been curated for us. I hate to say that. I think the overall message is still intact. I think that God has protected it enough to keep salvation there.
Yeah.
And to give you enough to understand enough of what's happened to know kind of where you come from. But mankind has gotten in there, and we have some very clear examples of that if anybody gets their panties in a twist over that, we can talk, because I can show you some things where that has happened in the past.
Yeah.
There was a slave Bible. Does anybody know this? They created a slave Bible that they went through, and they kind of did the exact same thing that King James did, which is they changed a lot of the language to make it so that you wouldn't rebel against the king.
Yeah.
Or in this particular case, rebel against your slave owner.
Yeah.
Go look it up if you don't believe me. Go look up the slave Bible.
Because people actually believed that the curse of Canaan was to be slaves, was black people.
Which is, when you go and you read the extra biblical text, you can clearly see that is not the case. That's not the true lineage of what really is going on.
I just, that guy,
you don't get that in the Bible either. You're not going to understand the Promised Land.
I know.
You're not going to know what's really going on there.
I just watched that one street preacher guy that usually goes to colleges, the older guy that usually does the videos and things.
Oh yeah, he did something the other day where I was like, I wanted to smack myself in the face because I was like, you don't know what you're talking about.
He was talking to a girl that really believed that.
Oh wow, really?
Yes, and she was fighting him on it. And he goes, "There's no way that is true."
I can tell you right now that gentleman has never probably got into an extra biblical text, or if he has, he has completely dismissed it.
Yeah,
because he was the one that I saw not too. If it's the same guy. He was the one I saw not too long ago that the girl asked a really fantastic question about where did people go prior to Christ when they died. And he did not have, he gave this circular canned ham answer that just talked about Christ. And it was like, you clearly have no idea what you're talking about, and you have no idea what you're talking about because you're ignorant on the topic and you haven't educated yourself, and you haven't gone far enough.
Which I can see that, to me, I see both sides. I can see the side of where he's playing it safe.
This was,
but at the same time, you just read in Luke and you understand.
Well, and you can tell that he doesn't. His answer was so circular, and you could tell that he didn't know the answer to her question.
Mm-hmm.
He just talked in a gigantic Jesus circle, but it didn't have any meat to it of any kind of answer.
Yeah.
I know watching that he has no idea, like, the concept of Sheol.
Yeah.
He just didn't have it, and he didn't know how to answer her, but he didn't want to say that he didn't know. So he gave like this really circular answer that didn't answer her question at all and made no sense.
Carmen's got a really good song that explains that.
Who does? Carmen, the
singer.
Singer?
Yeah. It's called Lazarus.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm talking about that's like technically not a parable, I guess. It's a story.
Yeah.
Actually. It doesn't say parable.
Talking about
Lazarus and the rich man.
And he talks about where everybody was.
Interesting. I'll have to listen to that one. Well, there you go, I guess.
Good show.
Yeah. Talk about the adversary. We should call it the adversaries.
Yeah.
Mm. Maybe I'll switch it when we do the released edited version.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have a limited amount of time to watch this show. So Abraham's bosom. That's right. Before Christ, different location, but they will be gathered together with the Christians at the rapture. This is correct. The Abraham's bosom is technically defunct right now. Does not no longer in existence. It has a closed permanently sign. And everyone has been relocated to heaven now that Christ has come. So and that's why you get a lot of the pre-trib stuff, because they don't understand any of that stuff. So then they misread Thessalonians and all that because they have no understanding of what they're reading.
Yeah.
And how can we all meet in the air and this? And they just don't understand because they don't understand the afterlife. They don't understand what happened when Christ died. But we've covered that in previous shows. I forget which show we've done, like 60 or 70
We even discussed that with the Gospel of Nicodemus.
Yeah, Gospel of Nicodemus is another interesting read that seems like, to me, in doing some research, nobody can really shoot that one down. And they've got it at least going back to 300 AD, if not further back.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess we will wrap it up for the week. But make sure you join us this Wednesday. Okay, this Wednesday, the 16th at 5 p.m. We will be on live again with our friend Paul Hanson, who we did a show with a few weeks ago, him and a gentleman by the name of Tony Cunliffe. And we covered the Shroud of Turin. Now, we're not going to cover necessarily the Shroud of Turin. We're going to cover the 1,000-year reign, which ties into some of our discussion today and Revelation and all that, because I'm kind of curious to get Paul's take on that, because there's a vast, vast difference in what people believe when the 1,000-year reign is going to take place. So we'll kind of get into
that. Could it have already happened?
Could it? That's one of the theories. So we're going to get into that. That's an interesting one right there. So join us this Wednesday, the 16th, 5 p.m. Eastern time for that discussion with him. And we're going to get a little shroud update, I think, in the beginning, because there is some science that just came out that is just, again, scientifically reinforcing more every day that is actually the burial shroud of Christ.
Yeah.
He was real. He lived. He did what he said he did. And the only way you can get some of the marks on that shroud is to basically resurrect and have all of the crucifixion marks and everything else. So anyway, we're going to get into that. But
do you think he said, "Beam me up, Scotty"?
did he hit his little button? Beam me down, Scotty. Yes. Go down to Sheol, right? Yeah. But anyway, we'll catch you next time on The Foil. Take care.
Bye.